Yep, hello. So today I want to talk about a problem that is huge in America, a huge sin problem, and the rest of the Western world, maybe to a smaller degree. And that is the sin of covetousness and what it leads to. Covetousness is a sin in the Bible. It's actually one of the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not covet. But it is such a common sin that people don't even think about it. A lot of American Christians just kind of accept it as normal. They don't even realize they're sinning. They don't realize that they have put an idol in their heart because the Bible says covetousness is as the sin of idolatry. So when you covet, you make an idol, So there is a lot of idolatry in America. It's just subtle. It's not overt like, Satanism or worshiping some other gods or burning incense or anything like that. It's not something overt, where it's obviously idolatry. But in America, we still have idols. It's just more subtle. Um, Anything you put above God is an idol. So um, anyway, so this is a very common problem in America. So common, people don't think about it. Like gluttony, it's a sin, and people don't even think about it because it's so prevalent that people don't even think about it. So it's a huge issue. It's always existed. People have always compared each other. Um, that's how they measure their success in life is that they compare themselves to other people. And that can lead to jealousy and envy and just not very good feelings. And it used to be probably at a lower level because people only lived in like one little village and they would just compare. They can only covet what they know. Like you can't covet something you haven't thought of. So they would just compare themselves to their neighbors, and that was it. Now in the modern world, you had TV, and then you had internet, and now the internet's like globalized. So who are your neighbors? Everybody. Everybody's your neighbor. So now, instead of just comparing yourself to your neighbor in the village, you're comparing yourself to literally everybody all over the planet. And this leads to very huge problems because, especially, kids growing up on social media, they see all these wealthy, successful kids their age, and they're always going to compare themselves to the best. And then the girls, it can be even worse than for the boys in some ways. Um, they'll just be comparing like, that's where you get body dysmorphia and all these other mental illnesses. And it just makes people really unhappy because people just do not have realistic expectations about life in general. Um, they don't realize what's reasonable. And even if they do realize what's reasonable, they still know someone out there has it better than them. So comparison is the thief of joy. It can really ruin your life, and some people don't care, but a lot of people I think are prone to jealousy and envy in one form or another, and that is why you can have a rich billionaire who is really unhappy and hates life, despite being a billionaire, and then you can have some poor person in India or Vietnam who has a family and a wife, and he's happy working 10, 12 hours a day, and he's happy. And there's people like that. And that's something like, if you see someone like that, like I've traveled the world, I've been to many countries. You start seeing people like that, you kind of like, it really puts things into perspective. When you start seeing how other people are living and you see what God's given you, and you start to be thankful for what God has given you, it really does put things into perspective. And it becomes harder to be jealous, to envy, um, and the covetousness and all this, just accumulating wealth. And you really start to think like maybe that's not so important. And it's a huge issue in America. People get caught up in just chasing wealth and materialism, and Christians included. I don't really think Christians, the average American Christian, is that different from a non-Christian when it comes to this. I think they covet just about as much. It's really sad. It's really sad. But I honestly don't think the average person who calls them Christian is really all that different. They really do get sucked up into all that stuff. It's really hard to pull yourself away from that culture. You are in the minority. Like, I am a huge minimalist. I budget, and I try not to get caught up in that stuff. And I have always felt in the minority my whole life in America, because it seems very logical to me to live like this, and I think it's a happy lifestyle. But people just no, they just want stuff. They just keep buying stuff, and I'm like, I have to think, like, do you really need that stuff? Like, a lot of the stuff people buy, I'm like, I don't need that. I don't want that. So you just have to ask yourself sometimes, like, what is really important to you? What's important? Like, and honestly, and if you want less stuff, you need less money. It's actually an easier lifestyle. Not always desiring stuff. You want more stuff, you need more money. You're gonna have to work and have a better job and work more hours to pay for all that stuff. And then you'll be busy and you won't have time to enjoy all the stuff in the junk you're buying. And I see that so often. I just see that everywhere in America. And then people get caught up and they just don't realize it. And then they're old, and then they realize they're old before they realize what they've been doing their whole life. And if you really want to know what's important, go watch some interviews of old people, regrets from old people. What do old people, elderly people, the 80s, 90s, close to their deathbed, what do they say? What do they regret? Listen to that. That is what's important. And they will often say they regret working so much and getting caught up in all that stuff. And they wish they spent more time with their family and their friends and their kids. That's what I hear. That is the common thread across all of these regrets of elderly people, is they wish they spent more time enjoying life and being with people they love than wasting time on work and just all this stuff, accumulating wealth. So stay away from that. Covetousness is as idolatry, and comparison is the thief of joy. Compare yourself to what you were yesterday, and what does God want you to do? Find out, what does God want you to do, and follow that. Is God happy with the way you're living? Don't care about what other people are saying. What does God think about your life? What's important? So that is your standard. Okay, what does God tell you to do? Do it. If God is happy with your life, that's all that matters. That's what matters. Do what God tells you to do, and focus on that, because that, you want to focus on eternal things, not physical things on this planet, because it's all physical. It's gonna burn. You're gonna pass away. You're not gonna take that with you to heaven. So just focus on the eternal. Anyway, see you next time.